guys? It's Workin bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. I do apologize, guys, for the lack of updates over the last few days. Our household has just been sicker than a dog. Something's going around up here. But anyway, still not feeling that great today, but wanted to get a quick update out to you guys. We're looking at Bitcoin. This is the 1 week chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, or the last, maybe it was the video before my last one, I was discussing how extended this weekly chart is and to expect a pullback. And of course, that's what we had seen the following week. Last week we saw this little bit of a pullback here, really creating almost a bearish spinning top. And we're seeing some follow through now on this weekly chart, some follow through to the downside. Now I'm going to be watching very closely this area right. In fact, let me just draw it right here. The prior low of this tiny little order structure right here, which is at approximately, it's actually right at about 4,900. That's the area that if that breaks down, guys, just looking at the weekly here, we could find ourselves quickly, again, looking at the weekly here, ignore this 4,500 area. That'll be more prevalent on the daily chart. But here, looking at the weekly, guys, the next major area of support that we can see is this 4,300, really 4,400, all the way down to about 4,250, which acted as prior resistance here, should act as support if it does break down. Now, there is a chance, if I zoom in here to the daily, you'll see what I'm talking about with this 4,500. We can see that we created a nice little order structure back here, the top of which was at about 4,540. There is a chance we get a little bounce off that area, pardon me, but that's not nearly as strong as the support level that we should find between about 4,370, if I'm being precise, down to about 4,250. Now, if I zoom in here on this little structure that we're creating, we can see that we're creating a series of higher lows right here, which is technically a bullish sign. And the question is, where are we consolidating between? I would say that our top area that really we need to get through decisively would be right here. Now, I understand we have this little wick, this area right here that broke out, which kind of ruined what was a possible ascending triangle. That was invalidated. And so price came down here. We're finding support on this ascending support line here. In the makings is a possible ascending triangle here. That's a real possibility here. Is that going to play out that way? Sorry, guys, frog in my throat. Is it going to play out that way? We'll have to wait and see, guys. But another possibility that I saw somebody floating, I can't remember where I saw it here, is a possible broadening wedge. And I'm not really seeing the criteria met for a broadening wedge. We would have needed to have seen a nice little bounce here. We kind of had a double tap down here, so I'm not really seeing that. I'm looking at this more as a possible ascending triangle here, which is a bullish sign if this comes to fruition. I'm not saying that it is, but would be a bullish sign if we end up breaking up here and if we get another test over here. As of right now, guys, we do have this little wick, which kind of, I don't want to say invalidates it, but certainly makes it less probable. But we'll have to wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out. So I'll be watching to see if we can get above this zone here, decisive break above this zone here. I think that'd be a very bullish sign. And if we can take out this prior high, which is at about 5,500, it's really at about 54.88. If we can take that prior high out, guys, extremely, extremely bullish sign. Well, actually, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We still would have the top of this zone here at approximately 5,600-ish that would need to be taken out. And this area, guys, is an extremely important, in my opinion, an extremely important resistance that must be taken out. I told you guys before, I pointed out before, that is the area where that golden pocket is, of course, between that 618 fib level and the 6.5 fib level, also known as that golden pocket. I've drawn this out here before. We can see that we had a wick that broke above it right here, but we're unable to decisively break above it. So this area right here, the top of this area, is really that golden pocket that needs to start acting not as resistance, but as support. And if that does happen, guys, if we break above this zone and what was resistance starts acting as support, that's when that will be the most bullish sign we've seen. And we've seen some pretty bullish signs. We've seen a nice increase in volume. We've seen this nice little rounding pattern here at the bottom. That everybody's talking about, of course, just a technical bullish sign. And so, we are seeing some very bullish signs in the market, but the market has a way of a market has a way of making suckers out of as many people as possible. And if everybody thinks this thing is going up, you better bet there's a very good chance it's going to break right back down. If everybody thinks it's going down, you better bet there's a good chance it's going to break right back up, guys. So right now we're kind of in between this zone, and I monitor Twitter quite a bit, especially a lot of my trading is done just on basically just looking online and seeing where the momentum is. By momentum, I mean, seeing where are we having positive or negative sentiment overall. Is everybody FOMOing in, or is everybody flooding out? And I'll trade the opposite of whatever that trend typically is. Right now, we're kind of at this awkward area where there's really almost a balance of bulls and bears in the market, and you can really see it if we come over here and if we look at, pardon me, if we look at our shorts, shorts are just flatlining here. Let's come over here and look at longs. Longs basically doing the same, basically just kind of trading within a little range here, no real major move in either direction. So we can see that we're kind of at this little point in the market where no one really knows what to do. I think whales are looking to wait and to see what retail is going to do so they can liquidate whatever side they go to. And I think retail is also looking to see if whales are going to pump money in the market one way or another. But either way, even if whales were to pump money into this market, as soon as we break above this area, and especially if we can break this $6,000 range, guys, and this starts acting as support, I think all bets are off. You're going to see so much FOMO into this market, guys, that could just take us into that into the bull run that everybody is waiting for. We're not there yet. We're certainly not there yet, guys. But that would be a risk if if market makers were to drive price up like that, hoping to trap people into their long positions. If you can always the more volume that comes in, the less it is less likely or less probable or even possible that that the market can be manipulated by, again, just basic math. If there's very few people in the market, it's much easier to move. With a lot of people in the market, it's much more difficult to move. So again, if it's kind of if you're a whale, you're kind of at this weird, awkward place to where if you drive price up anymore, especially if you break above 6,000, you're going to get that FOMO, and it's going to be unable to contain. You're not going to be able to contain it. That's it. It's off to the races. But everybody's in this awkward position to where no one's really willing to put, to put literally their money on price breaking down or price breaking up. Everyone's kind of sitting here and waiting, and I believe that's the smart play. I believe right now, unless you're dollar cost averaging in for the long haul, I believe the smart play is to kind of wait and see which way this thing breaks out. As I said before, guys, nothing has changed. I'm watching. I will start slowly laddering in at 4,500 all the way down to 4,000. I do believe, and the lower that it gets to that 4,000, the closer that it gets to that 4,000, the heavier I'll go in. Expecting a nice little bounce off of that area. That being said, if 4,000 does break down, guys, I do think we're very quickly going to come down and at least come down to 3,600, if not down to our prior low here of approximately 3,150 on Coinbase. Coming over here, checking out volume. Let me refresh it. Volume, we're sitting at about 11.7 for the day. We've had, in the last week, we've really had a nice little pullback in volume, guys. Remember, we were up at, let me bring it up here. We were up here at, 21 billion, 22 billion, and then a slow little decline here all the way back down to our baseline of approximately 10 to 11, possibly even 12 billion yesterday. And remember, guys, even though we are back down, volume has literally been cut in half from this high on April 3rd. We are still much higher than we were even coming back to March 17th, where we were at 8 billion. But if we go back even prior to that, in fact, let me just go ahead and bring it up here very quickly. If we go back and even prior to that March, here we go. Go all the way back into February, we're at 5 billion, 6 billion, 7 billion was a good day. Really 5 billion was the average. So you can see from the average of January and February, we're literally at double the volume we were there. That's a good sign. So overall, volume has increased over the last couple months substantially. We had a nice spike. We're pulling back now. We're kind of in that wait and see mode, and let's do just that. Let's wait and see where this thing ends up breaking. Now, if I look at this from an Elliott Wave perspective, guys, and I don't think we have enough volume in the market to really use Elliott Wave to the point to where it would be very reliable. That being said, we do have a little bit more volume in the market, and I would kind of view this something as a 1, 2, maybe a topping out at the 3 here, possibly this being a 4 and one more sub wave up to finish up the larger primary wave 3, back down for the 4, and then back up for the 5. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for a possible Elliott Wave, and then looking in here at the sub waves here, we'd be looking at a 1, 2, this possibly being the 3, 4, and then up for subwave 5 here, a shortened subwave 5. And I do think if this is the case, there's a very good likelihood we get a shortened wave 5 here. I do think it's going to be very difficult to break up above the top of this zone here. I do think that's a very, very strong resistance. We'll have to wait and see. I could, of course, be wrong, just my opinion. But I think another real possibility is we already had that shortened wave 5. We were looking at a 3, 4, up for the 5, and this already completed our primary wave 3, and we're possibly coming back down for the 4. And the question is, are we going to find bottom down here at that 48, 4900 area, with the bottom of this prior order structure, or are we going to end up breaking down to somewhere down in here? And I honestly don't know yet, guys. Again, I'm not sure. And again, this is assuming that Elliott Wave is even an accurate count. I don't believe that we're in the high enough volume market to where Elliott Wave is a very reliable, is very reliable at this point. But doesn't mean it can't be, just take it with a grain of salt. All right, coming back out, looking at our daily moving averages, exponential moving averages, guys, we can see that we're sitting literally right on top of the 8-day EMA. Nothing too significant about that. Of course, we have our 21-day EMA down here. That's an extremely relevant zone, in my opinion. A decisive break below that could possibly be the start of this crumbling back down to find support somewhere down at these lower levels. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we have our 200-day moving average down here that should act as a decent support if that does end up breaking down, guys. And coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, that happens to be sitting somewhere around 4,500, which, as we know, was on the daily time frame, was a decent level of possible support. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But for right now, guys, this is the main thing that everybody is watching right now is this 50-day moving average and this 200-day moving average, and see if we can get a possible golden cross here, where the 50-day crosses above the 200-day moving average here. That, for those of you that aren't traders, that is an extremely, extremely positive sign in the market, that the market is reversing and we are now heading up. Does that mean that price can't come back down and correct if that happens? No, absolutely not. But it is a very strong indication of the start of a bull market. So we'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out, guys. For now, certainly the trajectory looks good, and we'll have to wait and see if it does end up coming to fruition. So the takeaway from this, guys, I've got buy orders laddered in very lightly at 4,500, stacked all the way down to 4,000, where my heavier orders are down here at 4,000. That will, if we can break up above this zone right here, the top of which is at 5,600, and that starts acting as support, I'll get very, very, very bullish. In the meantime, we might have one more leg up here, possibly even coming up as high as that 5,600 zone, and then my money bets that it's going to end up breaking down. We may have a little wick that wicks above it here, maybe even touching 5,800, possibly a wicking above 5,800, but I do believe somewhere in that zone, guys, somewhere in this area right here, if it hasn't already, if we do end up coming up, we'll get a rejection somewhere in this area, and then I think at that point we're going to be coming back down for that larger correction, that that 20-25% correction that could find us down here at this $4,500 range. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. So either way, even if we have one more leg up here, I would not trade it. I don't think the risk to reward is there, especially if you're looking at a swing trade. Now, if you're more of a scalp or day trader, then of course, yeah, maybe laddering in here, possibly looking for a jump from current level all the way up here to this 5,300. That's a possibility. It'd be a risky trade in my opinion, but certainly I can see the logic there. If you wanted to take it, I would just have a very tight stop loss if you did do that, guys, knowing that we could break down very quickly down to this $4,500 area. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. I do apologize for the again, guys, for my cold. It's just been a rough last few days, really the last week or so, but hopefully I'm on the mend, guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.